our brain is in all of these brainwaves simultaneously, but we can move through more of our brain being in one state versus another. So when you're really thinking and engaged, you're typically in beta. When you get anxious and you're overthinking, you're in high beta. So that's not a state that you want to be in. When you meditate, you drop down into alpha. And then as you fall asleep, you move from alpha through to theta and then down into delta. So delta is the slowest brain state, and that's when you're in deep, deep sleep. So with Muse, we both track and give you real-time feedback on your brain while you meditate to teach you meditation and make sure you're really doing it right and get deep in your practice. And then with the Muse S device, the one that looked so cute with my glasses, with the Muse S device, that also tracks your brain during sleep, and it actually does it as effectively as a sleep lab. So there are dozens of sleep researchers around the world that actually use Muse for sleep research instead of sending someone to a sleep lab. Two,
Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio, podcast, and television show. I'm your host, Life Coach Myrna Young, and sitting in the guest chair is Ariel Garten, neuroscientist and co-founder of Muse. And Ariel and I are going to be talking today on the topic, how measuring your brain waves can impact your mental health. Welcome, Ariel.
Thank you, Myrna. It's so awesome to be here today. So awesome to be back on the podcast.
Yes, I know. I was just going to say, welcome back. Yes. Yes, Ariel is a repeat guest. And yes, so just welcoming her back. You know, I'm all about brain health and meditation. And, Ariel's device, the Muse device, is all about helping you with meditation. So I'm actually a user of the product. So we should have a great conversation. All right, so let me give you a formal introduction. As a neuroscientist and former psychotherapist, Ariel Garten witnessed firsthand the struggles that many face with mental health and the search for effective, accessible solutions. Inspired to make a real difference, she channeled her expertise into co-founding Muse, a health tech startup aimed at revolutionizing brain health through technology. Muse, the brain sensing EEG headband, has helped over 500,000 users globally improve their meditation, reduce stress, and enhance sleep quality. By providing real-time biofeedback on brain activity, heart rate, and body movements, Muse supports personal brain training and offers valuable insights for both consumers and neuroscience research. Trusted by medical providers and featured in over 200 third-party studies, Muse is on a path to unlocking the brain and revolutionizing health. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Yes, anything that can help us with meditation is a good thing. And, Muse not only helps with meditation, it helps with mental health, as we're going to talk about. It also helps with focus, so which is added information to our previous conversation. So Ariel, to set the table for a conversation, how did your work as a neuroscientist and psychotherapist transition into the Muse device? Did you have a personal experience that you wanted to break with the Muse device, or it was just basically research?
So I started out doing lab bench research with mice and cells in a dish. And as much as that's totally fascinating, understanding the mechanisms behind how the brain and body works, it doesn't necessarily improve our own personal lives, in the short term. And so I was trained as a psychotherapist and then opened a private practice. And there I could really work one-on-one with people to help them translate what was going on in their mind into actionable changes in their lives. And one of the, key methods that we use is meditation. And I was a terrible meditator because I was somebody who loved to do everything, had a million ideas. And like meditating was like the opposite to me. I was like, no, I can't possibly do that. And my clients and patients would be like, oh yeah, meditation. And they go home and do it. And then they come back the next week. Did you meditate? They're like, I don't know, not really, maybe. So so while I was going through this experience, I was actually working in another research lab with Professor Steve Mann. He's one of the inventors of the wearable computer, and we were using this early brain-computer interface system to be able to control stuff with our mind, literally to change our brain state and make the lights get brighter, the sound get quieter. And so it was sort of this aha moment with me and a few people that I worked with, Chris Amony and Trevor Coleman, where we realized that this technology that we were trying to use to like interact with our brain directly would actually be incredibly helpful to teach people to meditate, to scratch this itch that I and all my patients had around like understanding what was going on in your brain and then being able to translate that into something in your life. And so that was sort of the coalescence of all of these threads into the creation of Muse.
Excellent. So I know that the term for when you can't meditate is monkey mind, because your mind is always jumping around like a monkey. So tell our listeners, how does Muse help you to, is that the focus issue, the focus part of it that allows you to not jump around, or how does
Yeah,
it
to
do that?
tame the monkey mind, as they say. So side note, the monkey mind actually has a real correlation in your brain. So there's the part of your brain called the default mode network. And if you tell somebody to just like be totally quiet, just sit there, relax, there's going to be this little part of your brain that's still lit up and this little chatter that's going on inside your head. And that's the default mode network. It is really is the corollary to the monkey mind. And actually, when you start a meditation practice and get good at it, you decrease the activity of that default mode network while quieting the monkey mind. So, super cool side science fact.
Okay,
So,
that's pretty good. Right. Yes,
so,
I heard that with Mind Valley. They're always talking about the monkey mind, and because they're big into meditation and all that. All right. So
so we can talk about how Muse actually helps you quiet that
right,
monkey mind,
right,
which was your first question
right.
before I got science nerdy.
Okay.
So what Muse does is it gives you real-time feedback on your brain while you meditate. So I have a Muse device right here. We have a few different models. It's a slim little device that slips on like a pair of glasses. Sensors behind your ears and on your forehead, and it actually tracks your brain while you're meditating and translates your meditation into guiding sounds. So when you're thinking, it gives you loud, like rainy noises. And as you quiet your mind into focused attention, it quiets the sound. So when you're in monkey mind, it lets you know, and then it guides you and encourages you to focus your attention on your breath and quiet that monkey mind. And when you're able to do that, then you hear calm, peaceful sounds that reinforce your brain saying, basically, like you're doing the right thing, stay there. And this neurofeedback actually does an incredibly good job of training your brain to identify when you've got the monkey mind, and then to do this methodology, focusing on your breath, that then quiets your monkey mind and actually quiets the default mode network as well. So it becomes this really, really simple way to train your own brain.
Beautiful. I see the way you have to take off your glasses to put on the device because I have a device and I was going to wear it, but then it doesn't match with my glasses. Not match, but I can't wear it with my glasses and I need my glasses to read.
So actually, you can totally do it. You just put the device on first and then you put your glasses on.
Oh,
That way.
okay, all right, but it doesn't look that great. We have to have a visual effect here, because I tried it and I have the bigger one. Mine is not as small as yours. I have the first one that you showed me.
This one?
Yes, that big one. Yes, I have the big one. It does not go well with glasses.
It makes sense. I'm
But
actually going to
anyway,
try
I
this
mean,
out because I
right?
have not tried this yet
Okay, right.
on
So,
camera. So this is the Muse S device.
right.
Also has sensors on the forehead and behind the ears. This one tracks sleep, not just meditation.
Mhm.
And here we go.
You're gonna prove me wrong, huh?
Is the pair up too?
Not bad,
Holding
not bad.
stuff.
You look good. Yes, all right. Well, when I was fooling around with it, I didn't like the way I looked, so that's why it's not even here. It's not even in my view. But I'm glad that you have it to show the audience what it looks like for those that's watching on TV and on YouTube. All right, so I have a question on that, and I guess it's a good question for me because I'm a meditator. I've been meditating for a long time. I meditate a lot of times to go to sleep, and I meditate a lot of times when I wake up. Very rarely that I don't. So when I use the Muse, device, I get that, that I'm in the quiet space a lot. So I didn't get the noise. I guess I think I got the quiet meditation music. So I guess that means because I didn't know that it had when you're in the monkey mind that it gives you louder music. I always got the very nice meditation, rain sounds, peaceful things. And I guess because my brain is already in that alpha wave state, right? That's the state we're
That,
going?
that's the state. First of all, congratulations. Not many people can say that. Not many people use Muse and they're like, oh yeah, it's just quiet the whole time. So that's awesome. That is great proof of your actual meditation practice and your deep engagement with it. And I'm sure lots of people in the audience are jealous right now. I wish my brain could
Like
do
I
that.
said, I've been doing it for a long time. So anyway, go ahead.
Awesome. Um, so sorry, what was the question?
The question is, the alpha state is
Yes,
where you want to be, right? Because that's the meditative
totally.
state, right?
Exactly. So when you're in meditation, more of your brain moves into alpha frequency.
Mhm.
So alpha is from 8 to 12 hertz. We all have our own individual alpha frequency within there. And during meditation, you take your brain, which is typically in beta, you're thinking, high beta, you're anxious, theta, dreaming, and you bring it into alpha, which is both simultaneously a very calm and focused state. So it's one where you're engaged with a topic. And super, super calm and focused. So it's a very, very healthy state for a brain to be in.
Okay, yes, I love it. So like I said, I've been taking I do a lot of guided meditations. I mean, I rarely do it by myself because I do the guided meditations. Once in a while, right now I am working with Thich Nhat Hanh, which is a monk, and he's teaching you presence and breathing in. I know that I'm breathing in, breathing out. I know that I'm breathing out. So those are the ones that I do by myself. But usually I'm just following a guided meditation. So I'm able to go into the alpha state very quickly. Now, one of the things that that Muse does is it attracts not only the alpha brain waves, it attracts the theta brain waves and the beta brain waves. So, which one of these are good for sleep? Which one of these are good for meditation and quieting the mind? And maybe which one of these is good for focus? I don't know. Explain what those are for anybody that's listening.
Awesome. I'll take you through brainwaves 101.
Okay.
So our brain is in all of these brainwaves simultaneously, but we can move through more of our brain being in one state versus another. So when you're really thinking and engaged, you're typically in beta. When you get anxious and you're overthinking, you're in high beta. So that's not a state that you want to be in. When you meditate, you drop down into alpha. And then as you fall asleep, you move from alpha through to theta and then down into delta. So delta is the slowest brain state, and that's when you're in deep, deep sleep. So with Muse, we both track and give you real-time feedback on your brain while you meditate to teach you meditation and make sure you're really doing it right and get deep in your practice. And then with the Muse S device, the one that looked so cute with my glasses, with the Muse S device, that also tracks your brain during sleep, and it actually does it as effectively as a sleep lab. So there are dozens of sleep researchers around the world that actually use Muse for sleep research instead of sending someone to a sleep lab. So it is as precise as going into a big room with somebody putting electrodes all over your head and sleeping in a sleep lab.
Wow, that's interesting because I have two of my family members that needs to do the sleep apnea and go for sleep study. So this device can help them. Maybe I can give them a present.
So the device, so We're not FDA cleared for sleep apnea. So the device is not intended for sleep apnea specifically, but
Okay.
it tracks the EEG of sleep, just like a sleep lab does. And then we also have guided exercises in bio and neurofeedback that actually help you fall asleep. And if you wake up in the night wearing the device, help you fall back to sleep.
That's
So
pretty cool
we,
though.
yeah, it's really, really effective. So a study out of Western University demonstrated an improved sleep quality by 20%.
Nice. One of my son-in-law has a birthday today. If I interviewed you before, I would have gotten him that for a birthday present. Because
Oh, you would
yes,
have you would have loved it. And then your daughter would steal it, and then your son would.
yeah, yeah, because right. Yes, he was supposed to go to the sleep lab and he has not gone. So this would be perfect. And it's cuter. And the reason he doesn't want to use the sleep apnea machine because it's not sexy at all to sleep. This is so much cuter. Right. I love that. All right. So follow up to that question. Um, I know that if you are a meditator, let's stick with the meditation topic. So, like I said, Mind Valley is a company, and I think that you are on them, right? You speak to them, don't
I
you?
know Vishen, the founder. We've done stuff for Mind Valley.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Because I remember seeing you on his site. But yeah, they talk about you want to get to, they teach you how to get to the theta state because that's where you can change things. So, tell us more about the theta state.
So theta is a very cool state. It's the state that you're in when you're mind wandering. So when you're meditating, you're in alpha state, focused attention, you're fully engaged, you're fully attentive. And so attention and focus, these words are synonymous. So when you want to get something done, when you're driving to a task, like you need to stay on focus, you need to not be distracted by Facebook and everything else, that's when you want your alpha power, your focus. And that's what we really train you to do. Theta state is the state that your mind goes into when you're daydreaming, when you're mind wandering. When you're actually dreaming in sleep, there is some amount of theta as well. When you are in just falling asleep, when you're in that sort of hypnagogic kind of psychedelic state, when things are sort of images are swirling around, that's all theta. So the reason that people also talk about getting to theta state is that's the state where your conscious mind is sort of getting out of the way, and your subconscious mind is potentially more accessible. It's, sending up all of these images that may or may not make perfect sense. And that's, can be perceived as a state of greater malleability, sort of a permeable membrane between conscious and subconscious.
I love it. I'm actually trying to work with I've always been trying to work with my subconscious because I know that you can, Vision talks about bend reality and stuff like that. You need to get to the subconscious mind in order to influence the conscious mind. So I'm actually working on that right now. I never really seem to get there because my mind doesn't go into the theta state. I mean, I can brag about being an alpha, but
So, okay, so
I'm not getting into the theta state. So yeah, I see you want to
I
say
don't
something.
know. I don't know that you need to be in the theta state to get to the subconscious mind because
No? Okay.
why it's hard to get to our subconscious mind is because the conscious mind keeps getting in the way. And the conscious mind is the beta mind, the thinking mind, the prefrontal cortex.
Mhm.
And so a lot of what keeps us from getting into the like deeply interoceptive states where you're looking inside, where you're really querying what's going on in my mind, like you do in meditation, because you're observing your thoughts, you're shifting your relationship to your thoughts. What gets in the way of doing that is our monkey mind, the one that like just wants to grab it, oh, but that's boring. Let's look at Facebook or let's think about muffins or whatever.
Mhm.
And so I also do a lot of subconscious change work. And for me, that subconscious change work is identifying when I have a thought or a feeling that doesn't serve me, that was delivered by my subconscious mind because it has some belief inside of there. And then I have to like get super quiet, stay really, really focused on myself and say, okay, where did that thought come from? Why does that thought serve? Why does my body or mind think that thought serves me? Why is it there? Well, let me talk to that thought and tell it, hey, maybe you don't serve me in this way, and then hear what it says, like actually hear your subconscious speaking back to you. And then I say like, okay, what do you need? Are you scared? And so I'll, send it some love. I'll be like a mama, helping and protecting it and be like, it's okay. Like you can get over the state. I send it empathy. A friend of mine, Shelley Burton, has a great methodology called Empathy Heals, where you find these hurt little parts of yourself and you hold it, like you would your little baby. So yeah, I know that super sucks, but you're okay.
Right.
And all of that is actually working with your subconscious, and changing it and shifting it and creating the reality that you want in the world, the way that you want to see and the way that you want to respond to the world, not the way that we're just driven by our subconscious self.
So we don't need to get to the theta state to do that. We can do that. We can do it, but that's still consciously if we're thinking. But I know what you're saying because I told you I've been listening or working with Thich Nhat Hanh, and
Mhm.
basically he's talking about original fear, and he's saying that your inner child is afraid, and that you should tell that child, give it love. The same thing you're talking about, saying, hey,
Yeah.
we're all grown up. We're no longer afraid. We can take care of ourselves, kind of thing. So it's the same thing that you're talking about. Give it
Oh,
love and say, you're going to be okay. You don't need to be afraid any longer. You can take care of yourself. When you were a child, you had to depend on other people to take care of you. But yes, like I said, I've always been trying to work with my subconscious a long time now, but I'm now focusing back on it now because I'm rereading the book, The Subconscious Mind. And, I try to, because they're saying that as you go to sleep and as you wake up, your subconscious is more influenced. And that's usually because you're in that transitional state. So I
yep, that's
try
when
to,
you're in theta state, as you're falling asleep and waking up. You're right there
that's
in theta.
theta, right? Okay.
Yep. And so that's like the liminal state.
Mhm.
And it's interesting. So you can use your conscious mind to speak to your subconscious mind.
Okay.
And you can use your conscious mind to, make tapes, tell yourself what you want to think before you go to sleep. And you
Right.
can use your
I'm thinking
conscious
that.
mind to um, feel and listen and like shut out all the other noises, because it really takes a lot of conscious like attention to be like, I'm going to let everything else go. I'm not going to go there. Where I'm really going to focus and go now is in deep. And the classic meditators, the monks, they would meditate for hours and hours and hours in single pointed attention. And the idea is that they were stabilizing their attention. So it wasn't that they were trying to get to some crazy conscious state. Level one is simply stabilize your attention, be able to focus on one thing and control your mind. And then
Mhm.
once you do that, you've got that skill, then you can put it anywhere else you want. You can, take your mind towards more subconscious thoughts. You can, feel your inner child. You can have dialogues. You can direct yourself in all of these ways once you have control over the monkey mind.
Very important. Very, very important. People don't understand how important your mind is in so many ways, which is why show is called Transform Your Mind. Because your mind is where everything begins and ends. So that's amazing. All right. So we have, been talking about the brain waves and the states and things like that. But one of the things that your product, the Muse, helps is with health in living longer, healthier lives. So, what role does our brain health and understanding our alpha waves and our beta waves and our theta waves contribute to a longer, healthier life?
Awesome. Oh, in so many ways. So let's first start talking about mental health and then we'll talk about physical health. So, on mental health, we know that many of us experience anxiety, we experience depression, and all of these are both mental as well as physical experiences. And when we do practices like meditation, we learn to take our anxious thoughts and manage them more effectively, take our depressed feelings and manage them more effectively. And so it can help, with anxious thoughts, with depressed feelings, and then also with the physiology, the bodily experience that comes out of that. So when we are stressed, it, as we all know, increases our cortisol, increases our risk of heart disease, stroke, diabetes, all of the above. Stress is super bad for your body. And one of the, number one lifestyle things you can do to improve your physical health is stress reduction, is meditation, is learning how to manage your anxious thoughts, and uncomfortable feelings. And so meditation is key for brain health and physical health, and so is sleep. So we have several pillars inside of Muse. So in sleep, we let you track your sleep as effectively as a sleep lab. We don't treat sleep apnea, but we do a lot else to help you sleep more effectively. And we also, while you're improving your sleep, you're both improving your brain health, you're improving your emotional reactions, as well as your physical health. So, poor sleep is also a key contributor to um, diabetes, COPD, stroke, heart attack, all the killers. So, this action of caring for your brain health really is caring both for your brain health and your body's health. And we actually have a new device that is launching today of all days. It's just total chance that we scheduled today. And it's called the Muse S Athena. And it contains a set of other sensors that track your blood oxygen to your brain. So you're actually training your brain to improve the way that it uses blood oxygen. And it's basically like going to the gym for your brain. So you're like literally working on your brain strength.
Okay, that's nice. So let me understand that a bit. Because right now, my Fitbit tracks my oxygen, but I didn't think that I could influence that. So how do you influence the oxygen to your brain? How do you do that?
Sure. So what your Fitbit is tracking is your blood oxygen. Is it tracking your SpO2 or just your PPG?
I don't know. It just says, yeah, I'm not sure which
I'll,
one,
I'll
but
tell you a whole bunch of things. Okay.
report.
There's many different things that you can
Okay,
track in blood. So
okay,
one is PPG, which is the pulse wave. And so that's basically giving you your heart rate. And that's how you detect heart rate from the wrist. And we do that as well. So we detect PPG, which is your heart rate and the heart rate characteristics. And that's where you get your HRV from.
right.
Um,
I got that
we
too.
we also track SpO2, so that is the oxygen perfusion in your blood on the surface, on your skin. So if you put like during COVID, we would check our
Right,
SpO2.
right.
Uh,
The finger stick, the finger thing, right?
exactly. So Muse has an SpO2 sensor on it, and that helps to track your breath. And then we have a third thing that tracks specifically the oxygen to your brain. So it's a technology called FNIRS, frontal near infrared spectroscopy. And it's kind of like a little fMRI, but it's really, really little. It's just this. And it's tracking the oxygenation of your brain itself, the amount of oxygen that goes to your brain. And it does that by sending signals that go right into your brain, light signals, and track the oxygen right at the surface of the prefrontal cortex. And it does that on your left and right hemisphere. And so when you are just like when you use a muscle, the demand of the muscle sends more oxygen to it, and then you get more oxygen, you get more strength and energy in that muscle, it builds, and you can do more. When you use a part of your brain, it also demands oxygen. So in an fMRI, what you're seeing is the oxygen usage of parts of your brain. So this really is like a little mini MRI looking at the oxygen usage of your prefrontal cortex, the part just under your forehead. Now, your prefrontal cortex is like the executive control of your brain. It's the thing that's responsible for your decision making, your planning, your like higher order processing. All the smart decisions you made were made by your prefrontal cortex.
Yeah,
Um,
bad ones too.
Um, and as you age, your prefrontal cortex thins. So it really is something that you want to work on. You want to work on increasing the oxygen demand from that part of your brain. And so we do something called prefrontal cortex neurofeedback, where we are able to track the oxygen to your frontal cortex, and then teach you to actually increase the oxygen demand and increase the blood flow of oxygen to that part of your brain, which has been linked with improved focus, and actually even staving off the consequences of aging in the brain.
Beautiful. That is amazing. I
It
love that.
really is amazing. It's like,
Wow, that is amazing. That's interesting. Like I said, mine tracks it and it gives me a percentage. And I just look, it's 96% or something like that. It's usually in it, so I will, since I have a Muse device, I will see how I can improve that on your device too. I can, go to sleep with them both, the Fitbit and the Muse.
So the SpO2 at that 96%, that's just tracking your general cardiovascular system.
Okay.
So what's in your blood that your body and your lungs use. And what we're measuring is actually your brain,
Ah,
which you can't measure from your fingertip. It's a
okay.
totally different system of measurement.
Nice. Okay. Well, since I've got a device, I'll measure mine too. I love it though, that you can influence that, which is really the question that I asked you. How can we influence having more oxygen to our brain? And it's really interesting. I just finished watching this movie called Last Breath, and it was about a guy that was trapped at the bottom of the ocean and no oxygen. No oxygen to the brain. So it's an interesting thing. Um, all right. So, other than with sleep and meditation, Muse also help train the brain to focus. You mentioned it a couple of times. Can you share how it trains the brain to focus?
Sure. So it does it from a few different angles. So one is the meditation that we were talking about, and the meditation is literally called a focused attention meditation. So you are literally training your brain to focus. And so a thought comes into your mind. With Muse, you're made aware of when you've got a wandering monkey mind, and then you make the choice to say, "Hey, nope. I'm going to focus. I'm going to focus. I'm going to focus." And this translates very, very well into real life. So once you start meditating with Muse and you sit there for your 5 minutes of meditation and your mind wanders and then Muse lets you know and you're like, okay, back to task. And then it quiets. Okay, back to task and then it quiets. Then when you're sitting down at your computer and you're typing something and your mind wanders to Facebook, you're like, nope, oh, I caught that, back to task. And
Right.
then it wanders to Cookie, you're like, I hear you, Cookie, don't care, back to task. And so it was actually one of the first things that I noticed after I started using Muse was just how efficient I'd become because I was like a crazy procrastinator and like everything would distract me. And I began to understand my distractions and then make better choices about them because I trained myself to be like, nope, don't need it, don't need it, back to task. So that's one way. And then the second way is through the training of the prefrontal cortex that we talked about. So your prefrontal cortex, aside from being the part responsible, hopefully, for your good decisions, it's also the part of your brain responsible for attention and inhibition. So it's the part responsible for actually choosing to maintain your attention on something, and the part responsible when you say, nope, don't want to do that. That's a stupid idea. Like, put the brakes on that. Prefrontal cortex puts the brakes on so you can, do what you care about.
Right. Yeah. Well, I was really interested. I was foster mom and I had some kids that their prefrontal cortex was not allowing them to make great decisions. And it was, so I know that it can help you make the good ones and it can also, not not allow you to, it doesn't stop you when you're making bad decisions because it doesn't, you know what I mean? It's not working correctly.
Not working
They
correctly.
just make bad decisions like kids do. So the prefrontal cortex is not working properly. And adults are the same thing, that whenever you make bad decisions, it's because your prefrontal cortex is not driving you in the right direction. So that's amazing. And I
So it's
like that.
actually
Go
interesting
ahead.
as you age. So when we're little, we have very underdeveloped prefrontal cortices. Little kids have no inhibition. They're very poor at self-regulating.
Right,
And
right, right, right.
even teenagers' brains have not yet fully developed. Like we think of them as these little adults, but they don't have a fully developed prefrontal cortex.
Well, that
Um,
my problem was teenagers. Yes, go ahead. Mhm.
And then through the end of your life, unfortunately, the same thing happens. Your prefrontal cortex starts to thin and shrink as you age. And so sometimes we'll see, our elders who may be amazing people, but they start saying things that are a little embarrassing. And that part of their brain that's used to inhibiting has stopped working as effectively.
That's interesting. Huh. I've never heard that before. So this is new information to me. So when my mom says all these things, now I know.
she's not properly inhibiting herself. The mechanism in her brain that would normally be like, that's not an intelligent thing to say right now. It's,
My mom is 87 and she just lets her mouth run. I said, Mom, I did not know that it was that was, I just thought that, she has no filter, we call it.
and that's actually kind of what the prefrontal cortex is doing. It's filtering. It's saying, nope, bad idea. Don't let that one out.
Wow, wow. Now that's brand new information for me. I love it. Actually, the second information of the oxygen, and now the prefrontal cortex is thins out as you age. So that's pretty good. All right, now Muse is also part of AI technology. What do you think the future of neurotechnology and AI is? How are we coming together?
Oh, that's a very cool question. So, what the way that we use AI is by using a large language model to create our sleep algorithm. So, what we did is we looked at the brains of people while they were sleeping through with our research partners at the University of Ottawa and the Royal Institute of Mental Health. They have a sleep lab there. And so we were part of a large project looking at the brains of people while they were asleep. And then we were able to take that information and create a machine learning classifier that was able to then determine which state of sleep you're in and do it as effectively as a sleep technologist. So instead of a sleep technologist like hand scoring sleep, so when you go to a sleep lab, you sleep with electrodes on your head, and then a technologist actually looks at 8 hours of EEG data, eight if you're lucky and slept 8 hours, and they score it and they say, okay, now you were in wake, now you were in sleep, now you're in stage two, stage three. And so we were able to create a classifier that can do that automatically and does it even more precisely than an expert does because experts make mistakes, they're just humans.
Yeah.
And so when we look at the role of AI in neurotechnology, there's lots of places where AI should not be in neurotechnology, to be very, very clear. We have like very strong and clear ethical guidelines and guidances for like things you don't do. Sleep, totally fine. Like tracking, staging sleep. But one of the things that AI really promises for neurotechnology is the ability to diagnose brain disease earlier on, to be able to, give indications of when somebody's brain health is failing and provide interventions to improve it. So we have, as you mentioned earlier, there are about 200 different research papers published with Muse. And so we have studies with a lot of the major hospital systems. One of them, actually up to three of them, working with people with Alzheimer's, tracking their EEG, and then being able to actually identify what the brain looks like as it's going from mild cognitive impairment to Alzheimer's, to ultimately, not today, but someday in the far future, be able to create uh, like at home or in office, like in doctor's office interventions that you can use to track your brain state. And another one that we work with is we have two different studies with Parkinson's patients who have a stimulator on to help their movements. And so we have a sleep study looking at what a Parkinson's patient's brain looks like and what their sleep is like after these kinds of stimulations, and to be able to identify if that intervention is working. So in all of these studies that we're doing, it brings up the possibility of actually being able to more effectively diagnose what's going on in the brain. And one very cool study that was just published from the Mayo Clinic, they used Muse with long COVID patients. And so they had 44 long COVID patients using Muse for 3 months. And they were able to improve the long COVID patients' brain fog, improve their cognitive function, and decrease their stress and anxiety. So it's like super, super effective in the study for long COVID. And then one of the things that we're doing is now looking at what does the brain of somebody with long COVID look like? How is it different, and how can we create interventions to then take that different change brain activity and intervene to be able to improve it?
Yeah, that's a great thing, Um, once you're tracking, if you can intervene, and do something with the information that you receive, then that's great, because you don't only want to track it, which is one of the first things I asked your customer service when I got my device. It's tracking my brain waves. What am I how am I working with that information? What can I do with it? So that's pretty good. So I love that. So yeah, what you're saying is that, yeah, AI technology is really integrated now in the longevity and health span. So it's really great. So you're looking at sleep, you're looking at brain health, you're looking, they're looking at a lot of things, because I'm investing in some AI things. So I read, I read about what all these things are supposed to be doing, and AI is, yeah, it's very much integrated with longevity. So it's great that Muse is part of the AI technology. All right. So now we can tell our listeners how they can connect with Muse and purchase your device. I know you've got three devices now, so maybe you can talk about them, or is it
Sure.
more?
Uh, so we first came out in 2014, so it's now over a decade of devices. And actually, there are people who have the very first Muse and they still use that, the one that's 11 years old.
Okay.
Um, the ones that we have on the market now are this device, it's Muse 2. So Muse 2 gives you real-time feedback on your brain while you meditate. It has tracks your EEG as well as your PPG, your heart rate. And it comes with meditations for the brain, the heart, the breath, and the body. So there's a range of different meditation types you can get. So you can train your focused attention, you can train your compassion, and basically it really gets you to meditate. Like the most common thing I hear is, oh my God, I couldn't meditate until I used Muse. Thank you. So it really works. And then this is the second device. So launching today. So we have two devices out. This is the second, the other one. It's called the Athena. Athena was the goddess of wisdom and strength. So it helps you strengthen your brain, and it's the one that gives you all the meditation stuff plus the sleep support. It tracks your brain while you sleep and gives you interventions to help you fall asleep and fall back asleep. And then it also has the like mini fMRI type devices that track the blood flow to your brain and help you improve blood flow to your prefrontal cortex.
So that's replacing the one that I have, because I think I have
Exactly.
this S2. Okay. All right.
So this is the S3, the Athena,
Okay. Mhm.
which is like, I can't tell you how wild it is that you can have EEG and FNIRS and SpO2 and pulse ox and everything in this tiny, tiny, tiny little device that is all clinical grade and is used by researchers and available to the public. So
Nice,
it's
nice. I'm
like
gonna trade mine in. Awesome. All right. Well, that's great. So you only have two devices on the market. Yes. Okay. All right. So that's beautiful. So how can our listeners, pick up, one of your devices? Um, Tell us your website, tell us your
sure.
social media handles, or any way that they can connect with you.
Awesome. So you can go to the website choosemuse.com. That's CHOOSEMUSE.com. Choose Muse. And then you can register us on all the social handles on Instagram at Choose Muse, Facebook, etc. So you can just send us a note and we will always respond.
Okay, awesome. All right. Well, I will have a summary of my conversation with Ariel on the show page, which is myhelps.us. I will link out to her website as well as to a couple of her products. So you'll be able to go on there and basically see. You also have an app that works with the Muse devices, right?
Yep, so it's the Muse app. So you download the Muse app from the store, and anyone can download it. It doesn't do much without the Muse device, but you're welcome to start by downloading the app,
Mhm.
and then the Muse connects to it. And I believe as a gift to your listeners, we also have a discount code
Okay.
for
Yes.
your listeners.
Sure. What's the discount code? I will definitely add it to the show notes.
We'll have to put it in the show notes because I don't have it off in front of me.
All right, well, not a problem, right? So, yes, if you go to the show page, either on the show notes on the podcast or the website, I will have the discount code because yes, this is what we've talked about here is a device that helps with your meditation, a device that helps with you with focus and concentration, a device that helps you with your sleep, a device that helps you to maybe try to connect with your subconscious mind, which is, the subconscious mind is what runs everything that you're not conscious of. It's running 95% of the show. So getting to your subconscious mind and trying to influence. I always talk about designing your life. That's basically how you do it. So this helps you understand how to communicate with your subconscious mind as well. So it's a fantastic device and it doesn't cost a lot of money. So it's a good investment in yourself. And I'm happy to share this information with you. Like I said, Ariel is a return guest because I think that this information is very good. And she also ended up by talking about longevity. As you de-stress yourself, which is why the Western world now is caught up with meditation because meditation distresses and it's not just calming the monkey mind, but it has lots and lots of health benefits. So amazing. All right, Ariel. So this was I loved our conversation. I loved learning a little bit more about the product and learning how I can use mine more effectively. So as we wrap up, you have any last words?
That it's all really about brain health. So, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we are sharp when we age and we don't have phrases falling out of our mouths that we shouldn't have. And the best way to do that is to take care of your body, eat well, exercise, and make sure you care for your brain health as you age.
Yes, brain health is important, and you mentioned briefly about Alzheimer's, and that is something that is happening more and more to our elders, ourselves. We're going to be elders at one point in time. So yeah, brain health is very, very important, and if you can influence that in any way, and especially if you can get more oxygen to your brain, that's amazing. I love that part. Okay. Yes. So, all right. Well, listen, thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode of Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life. We're talking about brain health. We're talking about meditation. We're talking about brain waves. And listen, I hope that you had some aha moments from our conversation and go ahead and check out Muse. Like I said, I will have links to the website and products on the show page. So go ahead and check that out. And yes, definitely connect with Muse on social media, and I will also link out there. So Ariel, thanks again for being on the show. You guys, thank you for tuning in. If you would like to, contribute to this conversation, we'd love to hear your comments on YouTube or even on social media. We'd love to hear, how Muse has helped you, and any stories that you might have or any feedback that you might have for us. We'd love to hear your input. All right, Ariel, thank you again. Until next time,
Look
namaste.
forward to it. Have a wonderful day.
Yes, thank you. Namaste.